It's cool. Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Thanks for coming out.
Joey! No problem.
Oh, well, yeah, it's good. I was sad that the last time you came around in 23 for the Solo Joes, I didn't make it to Cleveland, so I had to do it this time, or else y'all might have. But it's great to be here. And phase two? Nebraska. I'm trying to figure that out. Nebraska. Omaha? Okay. Or Lincoln? Probably Omaha. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. It's not easy. Trying to find the right, places and all that stuff, because we're bringing all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Normally, you play the House of Blues, you just play their wonderful stage. You play all these venues, they have stages. That's not what I'm doing, because it's just a totally different feel than I'm looking for. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's tricky, because you're bringing all this stuff in, and it's got to fit the room. And it was a little snug tonight, but we made it work. And obviously, I love playing House of Blues because it's just a great vibe and a great hang. But so keep sending good energy my way. Then we'll get phase two plunked down and figure it out. So this is the burning question moment. If anybody has any burning questions, I want to, yes? First one up.
So she I love, but reminds me of waitress. Is that an inspiration?
Yes, yes. It was more subconscious. Obviously, Sarah Bareilles is amazing to be, that close and to work with her in that, small way. If she can rub off on me, that's amazing. I think, it was more of an homage, I think, subconscious homage. But, because it is, the character's name is Joe, right? Who owns the diner. Yeah, so, sorry. He's gonna come after me now. But and Take It From an Old Man, right, is the song. And then Pours a Cup for Old Man Joe. And the way, obviously, she is a waitress. And, okay, I just totally stole the song. But yeah, it definitely has that vibe. I was even gonna send it to her actually and be like, when I realized how much I was influenced. And then the other, the miracle starts with "Here You Are Now Standing in the Rain," which is it's the first line from a song from The Wanderer about Dion and the Belmonts. And I told Dion too, I stole your first line. But he loved the song, so it was all good. She is a sweet one, and I love that you guys love it. And my sister Alice, she was like, "Did you write that about me?" I was like,
That's so funny.
Which I love, right? Because you want people to identify and feel like it's written for you, So, and then someone was writing it was a simple message, like, "She is me," which sounds like a really good t-shirt, actually. But I'm trying to think of it, first of all, that "she is me" is bad grammar. It's supposed to be "I am she" or "she is I." But "she is me" sounds better. "I am she," not so much. "She is me," but then where would the "she" go? You know what I mean? You gotta figure out where, you know what I mean? Maybe on the back, but that's weird. Did you do it? Yes! She! Maybe I like the "she is me, but should it just be she? Or should it be she is me? Okay, all right, I'll work it out. Thank you for, that's the visual I needed. All right, same. Thank you, Etsy. Hi. You can only ask a question in one city in the tour, but we're going to give you 2 cities. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
You have a lot of new kids, like new stuff. Like, what is this a test for the residency?
I don't think so. I don't, she was asking about the new kid songs and me playing pop and come back.
Yes.
And stay. I mean, that's the cool thing about, being, writing the music is like you have a extra ownership of it, and I get to share it and play it. And, but no, I wouldn't say that. As you can imagine, like, we have a lot of songs to fit in the set list for Vegas. I mean, and it's, I think I'm very particular about pop though, because as you remember, some of you might remember Pop, the song I played tonight off the album. We played it one night on the Magic Summer Tour.
Were there?
Who's here? Well, you got especially because I was like, after that I was like, yeah, we're good. Yeah, it just didn't fit the vision. It didn't do it right. Like that was how I saw pop. You know what I'm saying? So that was cool. But yeah, it's a lovely thing to have written that, those songs for the latest New Kids album and get to do them in my show. Cool.
We got one here.
Hi.
Who would be your dream artist to collaborate with?
Oh, I get that sometimes. Last night I said they're all dead. No, but then I'm pretty lucky. I feel like I've had some special moments. Like I brought up, singing with Kelly Clarkson, which was a while ago now, but that's a memorable thing, and I think it was a moment. And then of course, singing with Debbie Gibson every night on, the 2019 tour was huge, and singing on Broadway with so many amazing, I got to sing with Idina Menzel, so that and Shoshana Bean and Stephanie Torrens and Waitress and on and on and on. So I think I don't want to tempt fate. So far so good, and hopefully there'll be more opportunities. Yes.
Your vision for this tour, the show, from the costume to the poetry and the stage you brought in, like, can you tell me a little bit about like that development journey and like what you were?
Yeah, the vision was easy. I always had this vision. I wanted sort of like an interactive experience. I'll let you know at first I wanted it to have the floor open and then no stage and like me and 2 dancers. Yeah. And it was more lyrical and interpretive. It was much more theatrical. Yeah, I know, yeah, this would be a good room for that. And then, well, you'd like that vision because that vision had chairs. But then I was like, wait a minute. But then I was like, no, I can't do that because, yeah. I really wanted to serve the album and the vibe of the album, and I think it lives in a more urban club setting. And so that's where it was, and I said, well, let me just make it in the round, and now I'm obsessed with In the Round. This was sort of like semicircle tonight because we had to push the stage back because of the how it fit. But I'm so sad that like I don't want to go back to just nothing. I don't want to go back to this like ever. I know.
It was intimate.
Yeah, it was intimate and it was fun and there's movement in there and it's just so much more fun. I think it just has a very certain kind of classic vibe to it. So that being said, I've shared a little bit that I didn't know how big the tour was. Lots of lights. It takes a lot. You know what I mean? It takes a big truck. It takes, I just and you learn the way you learn. And everything's okay, but our tour manager was like, hey, what about going to a truck, getting a truck driver to a truck? And I was like, are you crazy? And a week later, I paid for a bus I never saw. That was a genius idea, but I didn't know it until I knew it, you know what I mean? And next thing you know, we had a truck and a driver and a van and another van and the whole thing, so whatever. That's the behind the scenes, but the great news is that I'm thrilled with, the stage and the whole setup. I worked with Travis, who did the Magic Summer Tour, and he's doing Vegas as well. So we sat for like a minute before that tour, like at a sound check, and I told him what I was thinking. And he was like, great, man. I wasn't sure if he was, completely interested. He's very, busy and all that, but he was very excited and loved the album. So, I definitely indulged more than I thought I would, but I love it. I mean, this is the way to do it. It's just finding the right places. It's a little tricky because there's not just, big open spaces to bring it in. So it's a little yeah. Hi.
Hi. So I love Disney a lot. I've been used to work in Disney World, Florida. So I was wondering if you have a favorite Disney movie or like.
Oh, I love that question.
I did get to do the candlelight. Yes. Last year, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal because it's the VIP experience. You know what I mean? So that was pretty cool. And my kids, we got to go on the all the rides and everything. Favorite Disney movie? I gotta go with Aladdin because and I saw that movie at the El Capitan on Hollywood Boulevard a zillion years ago, of course, but it was Robin Williams. It was so funny, and I just remember the sound was incredible, and I'll go with Aladdin, and I'm a Small World guy. I like Small World. Small World and little Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm good. I'm good. That's good. Yes. Yeah.
Got one over here.
Over here.
Can we talk about the backstory of Miracle and maybe the writing of it, specifically the line "Walk of Shame"? Because I think we probably think one way, but I think people experience shame in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, miracles, yes, about miracle, and making another mistake, maybe the next will be the one that finally breaks you. Maybe even that walk of shame just might lead to a miracle.
I've heard it.
I was getting verklempt, actually. I wasn't laughing. Yes, I think it was our generation that created the term, right? We knew what the walk of shame was, okay? But so I take it from that, you know what I mean? I hope people read it as like, and that could be anything, we can figuratively, take it, that could be after a bad meeting or a bad interview or a bad audition, or if you're walking back and you feel like you got egg on your face. However, I remember a walk of shame. Did I share this already?
No, I just.
Did I?
Yes.
About my wife? Yeah. Okay, TMI now, so whatever we do. No, it was when we were first dating. And I was sort of hot and heavy, and she was 24 and like, you're cute, but, And so it had that dynamic until it didn't, you know what I mean? Because relationships are what they are until they change and evolve. And I remember the crosswalk, you know? I remember that walk of shame, you know, and it didn't feel good. And talk about a walk of shame leading to a miracle. One miracle between two people that equaled 3 more miracles, you know what I mean? So, yeah, so that's specifically where it came from. So that's a good question. Yeah, so that was that. A couple more, and I always say we're gonna.
Baby blockhead over here.
Okay, baby. Oh, hi. Yeah. Why what?
Why do you impregnate the air during rain?
Oh, she's saying, why do I impregnate the air? Is it just me or is it everybody? Everybody. Except for John. I think John would agree with you. He would say, why would you do that? That's not nice. Well, there was 2 nights where I tried to impregnate a bucket of popcorn. So, it could be worse. And I didn't do that for folks like you. I want to look up to me and not quizzically, who knows? Who knows? There's a lot of air that's, we're gonna run some tests. See if we're expecting. All right. Well, one more. You go ahead. Thank you.
And we both know that the Celtics and the Cavs are going to the playoffs.
We'll see, yeah.
Without being biased.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to?
I mean, I'm surprised. You guys are going to be overjoyed. I'm surprised how well they bounced back finally. I mean, I'm not checking the box scores, so to speak, every day, so I can't tell you this out of the other. But I like our chances because we've been there before, and Cleveland, is probably going to choke.
Even the old kid dancer in me can see choreography, like lyrical, or even some ballroom type things.
Yeah.
Is that ever part of your writing process, or do you just think that just kind of comes out because that's just kind of how you?
It's probably just, I guess they would call it, the kind of dance they call that lyric, right? Lyrical dancing, you know what I mean? So they're hand in hand, and I grew up in the theater, so everything sort of is like, has that string, attached to it, and that's part of it, and
They're just all very, you can just see the story, like, in your head, and the picture, like, I'm waiting, but when I listen to that, I'm like, I see this, like, in New Orleans, a Fudam on the
Yeah,
screen,
yeah.
and, like, it's, like, sweaty, and it's,
it's not impregnate the air over there. No, I think so. I think you're right, and I visualize a lot of different ideas as I'm writing definitely, and that's the fun part. So, and that's why I'm happy with this bigger kind of a set, in production, because it feeds that voice of having it a certain way, and I hope to keep evolving and maybe do something a little bit more on the nose, in that fashion. So we're gonna take some selfies. Don't talk too much. I love you guys. We're gonna shut up and take some selfies.